Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay, with my co-host, Raj. Raj, it is Sunday night, June 29th, and we have had a slew of news related to the Lakers that we have to discuss. Some stuff that we speculated that's come true. Some stuff that we speculated that we're still remaining to see what ends up happening. But there is news around the Lakers, and all of it requires discussion. As always, folks, we appreciate everybody that's able to join tonight on Sunday night. If you're on YouTube, if you're on X, you guys can always leave a comment or leave any questions that you have. We'll make sure. Oh, I'll turn on the comments here, but we'll make sure that we star them in the background and we try to address them throughout the stream. If not at the very end of the stream, if you're on YouTube, leave a like, subscribe. Say nice things to us. I always appreciate it. And Raj definitely appreciates it. Tell your friends about it. That's also awesome too as well. Raj, there's been a lot of Laker news, but no bigger news than LeBron James opting in to his final year with the Lakers, which was something that was speculated. That might be an opportunity. That might be something that might happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think the opt-in was something that was really a shock because you kind of knew. Shams kind of mentioned it a while back, and Dave McMenamin reported maybe a couple days ago that league sources were telling him that LeBron was going to opt into his final to this final year. The real news was the statement that was made after the opt-in, courtesy of Rich Paul, which was essentially him saying that the Lakers are trying to build towards the future and LeBron's trying to win now. And so his whole thing is, he has to think about his situation when it comes. And so naturally, you and I had said, and if you guys were part of the Lakers Detailed Discord, we had essentially said, if he opts in and if the statement that comes out, the reason for the opt-in comes out, because Bron always gives a reason, is something that is conversational, the timeline is going to be a war zone. And I don't know about your timeline or how much you've been on Twitter, but my timeline has been a complete war zone over his opt-in. But where are you at, bro? Like, what are your thoughts with everything? Let's just talk about the LeBron thing first, because that's a big part of the conversation.
I want to start off with, I was actually at Crypto Arena. So Candace Parker got her jersey retired. Another LA legend that did leave the franchise at one point for Chicago. It was a fitting because she got it retired at a Sparks Sky game. So, congrats to Candace Parker. But no, this LeBron news definitely was the news of the day. Vinay, I think I was pretty clear that if he opted in, it was pretty much a given he would retire. I thought, never did I think that Rich Paul would come with such poignant quotes and very detailed. And people are like, you got to read within the lines. No. You don't got to read very far between any lines. These are very clear notes. These are very clear direction. There's very clear understanding of what LeBron wants next year. And Vinay, how I took it, how I read it, just getting to sit with it for a few hours. Let's just say there's been internal conversations and both sides have come to an agreement that they will not have the same goals for next season. And so now there is a conversation. I'm not saying LeBron's in any urgency to move or anything like that. I'm not saying there's a foot behind his back telling him to get out the door either. But I think there is an understanding between both parties that now the opportunity is open to go look elsewhere, which that's a banger bomb of a summer and an announcement. That's where I'm at with this. Where are you at? Try to hide your smile while you're saying this. But, I'm just playing. But where are you at?
The reason why this is funny, I was going to pull the clip for the folks that know that for the folks who are in the Detailers Club in the Discord and or people who are just like regular watchers of the pod. The reason why this is funny to me is because for the folks that don't know, in the last pod that we did before we left, Raj asked me a very specific question that I just kept laughing at, but that I answered, which was, does new ownership prioritize LeBron? And I just started laughing because I was just like, I don't think they do. I think they care about him. I do think they respect him and his stature in the league, but I think they do prioritize Luka. And I think that was part of the agreement for when the new ownership transfer eventually happens. That hey, we're building around Luka. This guy is a top 3 player in the NBA. Like we're going to build around this guy, and it's no disrespect to LeBron, but this guy's younger and better right now. And so I think after that conversation, after that pod, which was on Wednesday, I want to say, we now 3 days later get a little bit of confirmation about what that is. It's it's just one of those things. So I want to read the quote, Raj, before I answer your question.
Okay.
I want to read the quote that Rich Paul says in ESPN. This is his reasoning for the opt-in. He says, LeBron wants to compete for a championship. Paul told ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that. But he values a realistic chance of winning it at all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. We understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage in his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count, and the Lakers understand that and are supportive and want what's best for him. Raj, you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like to me saying that the Lakers basically went to LeBron and said, "Hey, we want you to retire as a Laker." These are my thoughts on this conversation. We want you to retire as a Laker, but we also have to try and build a team around this Luka kid who's really, really good. And I don't think LeBron has an issue with that because he probably does believe that, hey, you know what? Whatever helps Luka probably helps me too as well. But there's an impasse here because I think there's probably a little bit of like, hey, LeBron's going to eventually want to retire. We also know that you're a max salary slot player. It's a little hard to build around 2 max guys and bring in other superstar level talent. It's only role players that you can really bring in. And I think there must have been a conversation about that. And I think there was probably also a conversation about how long do you want to play? Do you want to play 5 years, 4 years, 3 years? Is next year your last year? Like you said, you and I both speculated that he might be retiring sooner than later. It seems like. Then the video comes out of Bron saying that Savannah's been telling him it's time to retire. And which was, again, like he keeps making jokes about retiring when it's just like, when you start making jokes, that means that it's in your mind.
It's in your head.
And now we get this statement. And so I think what happened is they just say, we have to commit to one or the other. Are you here or are you not here? And if his answer was, well, I don't know how much longer I want to play for, but I'm here while I'm here, I think the Lakers say, you know what, then maybe we should hold off on these extension conversations and then we can figure things out from then on. It's to help both sides. I think that's what that statement says. Is that a fair read of a fair guess of how that conversation may have gone?
So here's what I want to do, Vinay. I want to just cut off the last part of that sentence, right? Yeah. The part about I do think there's a good working and friendship relationship between Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, all
absolutely.
That stuff. But I want to cut that sentence off for now. Let's focus on the first part, which I think is the only part that really Rich Paul wanted to bang home, right? Because this sentence was 100% worked on. This was
100%
very not in that way, but I mean, like, there was a point to get across here that I think really was hit home in this first sentence. So I'm gonna stick with that. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. Let's stop. Right. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. Let's just right there, focus right there. And I think the part that gets really confused, Vinay, and that's the part I want to answer. Why are Luka and LeBron's goals not aligned in here? Why is a Luka championship timeline not aligned with the LeBron James timeline? Right. And I think that's the fair, and I think I think that's a very honest and fair response to that quote, right? Mm-hmm. Because I think that's also the response they want you to have to that quote, mm-hmm. right? If Rich Paul is publicly telling you, obviously he's doing it a little bit underwater, not that far underwater, because you can very much walk on, it's the shallow edge of the pool, but he's very much telling you, Vinay, that the Lakers are building for the future, which to me also means they are not they are not trying to go for it next year, which I think gives out pitchforks, who has people rioting, all of that. I have an answer why that's the case, but I'm going to let you get a chance to eloquently put it. Why are Luka and LeBron's timelines not equal. Luka's also in his prime. He's 26, 27 years old. He also
Mhm.
probably wants to win a title next year. I'm sure if you go ask him, he's in win now mode. But why are the Lakers operating in a different, I guess, timeline as Rich Paul is saying that they are?
So I don't think their goals are different for between Luca and LeBron. I think they have the same goal. I think they have the same ambition. I think Luca wants to win a championship next year. I just
I,
think,
I meant the Lakers. Why do the Lakers believe Luca and LeBron's championship windows are different?
oh, I don't think the Lakers believe that their championship windows are different. I think
Mm,
Rich Paul is making a statement on behalf of his client. Have you seen the Lakers come out and say that we are not interested in winning a championship next year? Have you seen the Lakers give any inclination that they don't want to
mm,
try to continue competing with Luca in tow? I mean, have they said anything about again? Like, I don't want to be contentious and combative about it, but what have the Lakers done since trading for Luca, outside of obviously trading for Mark Williams and then that trade getting rescinded?
mm-hmm.
What have they done to make you think that they don't want to, like, they're doing a full reset? They haven't done anything. It's not
Does
like that. Go ahead.
I'm gonna give some counters to let you respond to them.
Yeah,
Letting Dorian walk, I guess. Just
yeah.
outright saying Dorian Finney-Smith, we are not extending you. We are, we believe we need to get younger.
Mm-hmm.
We need a more, well, at least this one I'm reading into. Obviously, the Lakers have not
Fair. No,
given
no, it's
these
fair.
as answers, but and also like Dorian believes he can get that number out there, which I believe he can. He's gonna
Mm-hmm.
go to Houston and go get that in any way. But um, I'm gonna kick a point to you, Vinny. I'm gonna kick it right back. Do you think I believe there was a conversation of these are the assets that the Lakers have. These are what we're willing to move and what we're willing to not move. These are the
Mm-hmm.
contracts we're willing to have, extending past a certain year, 2020, right? Having a cleaner
Mm-hmm.
cap sheet, I guess, going into the prime of their brand new superstar.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was part of the conversation as well for LeBron and Rich, because to me, this quote doesn't come out if they believe the Lakers are going to do everything in their power to win next year.
Mm-hmm.
They probably can't get to a favorite, and that's kind of maybe where the clash is. I'm not sure if there's a move out there that puts the Lakers into title favorite. I mean, you could probably go down the list. Boston's, obviously has their injuries, but I think there was contention there. Like in terms of where the team would be after the summer and the assets that they were willing to move. But you believe that the Lakers and LeBron don't see eye to eye on what actually would be a championship team next year.
I think without saying, okay, let me answer this question in a way that doesn't say anything about how things are happening in the background. I think LeBron and his camp have an expectation as to what needs to be done in order for the Lakers to get to true championship contention with
Okay.
himself and Luca as the two main guys. Okay, I don't think the Lakers agree with what those steps are required. This is not like an active conversation where LeBron has gone and said, "I need you to do X, Y, Z, and then I'll believe
Mm-hmm.
that we're a championship team." I think the Lakers know what LeBron would like to see happen with the roster in order for it to get to where he would probably feel that way. I just don't think the Lakers agree with LeBron. And I think the reason why you're getting this conversation the way it is not because LeBron wants to win a championship and Luka's cool with not winning a championship. I think it's because the route that they want to take to get there is
Mm,
not aligned. And LeBron, obviously being of an advanced age, probably looks at the situation and says, okay, I think it might take them longer to get to where they need to get to because look, I'm LeBron James. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what it takes. I've done it for 3 franchises. I know what it takes to win a championship. So he's probably thinking to himself, I have to go to a franchise that's closer to what I think is winning a championship. And I think that's why you're getting the response that you're getting from Rich Paul. Because you're right, Raj. Like, why would you go out and say that I'm looking for a realistic chance to play a realistic chance to win a championship when you're playing next to a guy who's a top 3 player in the NBA right now? That doesn't make any sense. So that's where I come up with the logic. I think the method of how to get to the championship, there's a disagreement between the Lakers and maybe Bron's camp when that comes, and that's why they've come to this conclusion.
yeah, I think that can most definitely be the case. I also think like I think there's a thing we do where if you're not going all the way for the title, that means you're also trying to lose, right? I think
Hmm.
there's a middle ground here, right? Not every move is correct, not every transaction. There's a level of risk reward that's needed. And again, I'm not giving the front office any type of bail here, anything like that, but I do think, Vinay, it's the job of, like, yes, like the whole story to me, the whole story that I've seen today is, well, what if you go ask Luka? What does he want? He wants to win next year.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely, he does. So did Shea 2 years ago. So did Anthony Edwards last year when they shipped out Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle. Right? Like these are things that happen. So did Boston when they shipped out, Marcus. Like these are things that organizations do when they have a star they believe in their prime,
Hmm.
and they have a long enough window where they do not have to make deals that hamper them down the line because their championship window is 1 year or 1.5 year, right? A LeBron and AD team, Vinay. Oh, you need to go all in. Like, you don't know when
Hmm.
AD's health will be there. LeBron was obviously aging at 39, 40. There's a level of desperation and urgency that you need to show every summer. And I tweeted about this today. I think the ownership group, and people trying to say they have no influence already. Like, these people are in the room. They're
Yeah, absolutely,
these
dude. Like
they're
this is
yeah. Just because the papers aren't signed doesn't
yeah,
mean that they're not making sure that what they want to happen. But
yeah.
I do think there's a full organizational direction. And again, you can disagree with the direction. You can disagree with the way that the ship is sailing, but there is someone giving out direction, right? Rob now has a very much a direction to go through, and if he's not able to steer that ship, I think he's gone. And I think that's something that we haven't seen in a while. But this is not for that part of the
Hmm.
conversation. My point, Vinay, is that I think franchises also have to look at. I think the Lakers are in a desperation mode with centers, and obviously we're going to talk about DeAndre Ayton here in a bit. And I think there just haven't been trades that have been available, and I think that's, to me, the separation, and that's why you see this quote. But Matt, like, it's very easy to look at this from one side. Imagine reading this, on the Lakers side, where that's a huge statement from Rich Paul, basically saying,
Do you think they knew that he was going to say that? Let me ask the question. Do you think Rich Paul gave the Lakers a heads up that he was going to say that? I don't think he talked. I don't think they, from a professionalism standpoint, because Rich Paul is a professional guy, like
oh, absolutely.
to some degree, like in that regards. Like I think he probably told Lakers, "Hey, Bron's going to opt in to his last year. This is how he feels." I don't think they're that caught the Lakers. I personally don't think that was caught
I
off
don't
guard.
think so either.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that sounds like something that you'd probably tell the Lakers, like
Yes. I
as the reason for it.
do I think okay. Do I think they knew about whether Rich Paul would say that they were not trying to
Yeah, because I mean, because you're essentially saying, okay, again, I'm not trying to make this combative, but essentially, Rich Paul through that statement is saying the Lakers are not trying to compete for like at the level that LeBron James expects. You get what I'm saying? Like,
at least next year. Yes.
yes,
They are
at least next year.
not going for it.
And
Yes.
so he has to check his, like see what the situation is going to be. So like that has to be like one of those things where the front office goes, hmm, like when did that happen? Like what who said that we weren't trying to compete? Like now you're speaking for us, right? Like if
Yeah.
I'm the owner, I'm like, why are you speaking for what we're trying to do? I'm just saying.
And, and by the way, I think LeBron can be fully, like, he can have full belief that the front office won't do their job. I mean, this has been a front office that has heavily been critiqued, not by just the public, but by you as well, by me as well. They have obviously had a struggle building the correct roster around LeBron and AD. So I could see where LeBron would have some trepidation of, like, having his final year be with the Lakers. I do think they were, again, I'm not, this is not to attack Rich Paul. I do think they were caught off guard with to me, that first quote speaks volumes.
Huge.
The rest of that is cool. We appreciate my time here. We had a great relationship with Jeannie Buss. That's very cool. That first sentence, Vinay, the part of where they are,
Building for the
they're not
future.
trying to, yeah, they're going to the future. I think that's definitely something that they're thinking. I don't think they wanted that out in a public manner, especially with Luka's extension coming up. Like, there's a lot of other factors going on. I find that extremely fascinating. Like, LeBron can still be a Laker by the time October comes. There's still a chance that he's still on the team. He has not officially requested a trade or anything of that manner, but this was definitely a soft little launch that he threw up in the
for a
air.
trade request.
Yeah, and just see where it lands, kind of thing. But
Raj,
and yeah.
go. Finish your thought. I have
I
something
was,
I want to pitch.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this was a very much, to me, in my opinion, was a soft launch. At we are now conversing. I think they're allowed to converse with other teams, are they? I mean,
I think starting tomorrow, but I mean, you can talk. I mean, at this point, I
right,
don't think it's
right.
one of those
Yeah,
things where
that's true. No, I was
who's
talking. Oh,
enforcing it? They're not tapping
yeah,
phones. So.
right. But yes, I think that's what it was. Obviously, Cleveland has been mentioned. The Knicks have been mentioned. Dallas has been mentioned. These teams are starting to pop up as potential LeBron teams. Which, Vinay, I never saw this. Like, this
Mhm.
caught me by surprise. I thought an opt-in meant we're about to throw out the red carpet and we'll have
Yeah,
a blissful final year.
yeah.
But that is not the energy that has been put out into the universe. But I've been rambling. Talk to me. How are you
No, you're
feeling?
not rambling at all, dude. I think there are many people who are shocked. I want to shout out Shell for the $2 because this is going to be where I inserted my conspiracy theory. Shout out to Shell for the $2 super chat in regards to the conspiracy theories. There are so many conspiracy theories that we have to discuss, but there's one I want to discuss with you, Raj. I want to discuss an
Yeah.
alternative scenario with you about how this opt-in came about and what we discussed. Maybe they're not on the same page, and we take Rich Paul's statement at face value and say, like, maybe he's kind of telling Laker fans what it is that's actually happening behind the scenes. I want to present an alternate scenario, and we'll put this in the conspiracy theory section, Raj.
Yeah,
What
these
if
are
there's
thoughts. These are thoughts by Vinay and Vinay only, and ideas that he's thought up in his head. All right, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I'm not an insider, folks, so I just talk. Um, okay, so I have a scenario I want to present to you.
Okay.
Um, LeBron has to decide on his player option. Him and Rich Paul go to the Lakers, and they say, "We love being here in LA. We want to, uh, you know, we've loved the partnership that we've had so far. We've had ups and downs, blah blah blah, this sort of stuff. It hasn't been the perfect union, but we at least got a championship out of it. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to continue being here. Okay. What if the Lakers went to LeBron and said, "Hey, we really appreciate everything that you've done here, but we've got this guy Luka Doncic." And I know I'm butchering his last name because I always get a comment afterwards in the YouTube comments saying that I keep butchering his last name, so I'm just gonna call him Luka. But we've got Luka here. And contrary to what people think, we didn't bring Luka here to replace Anthony Davis. We brought Luka here to replace you. And we want you to retire as a Laker. But that only works if you're retiring as a Laker next season. LeBron James, do you want to retire next season, as in this opt-in season? And what if LeBron said, "I don't think I want to retire"?
Or he doesn't know. You think he
Or he
doesn't
doesn't
know,
know.
or you? Okay.
Doesn't know. Fair. Doesn't know. And I wonder if the Lakers told him, "Look, we appreciate you. We want you to retire here, but we can't keep doing this and be able to build around the guy that we want to build around for this next year. We've got new ownership coming in Q3, and that's going to be right before the ownership's going to transfer over, right before the new season's going to start. So we appreciate everything you've done, but we got to focus on the young kid, and we're not going to be giving you we're not going to be offering you an extra year." What if, Raj, if that's how the conversation went, and because Rich Paul can't say that part out loud, I mean, you can't say that LeBron James wasn't offered
Yeah.
a
You can't
year
say
from the
LeBron asked for a
Lakers,
1+1 and was
and the
denied.
Lakers said
Right.
no, because that would make Braun look really bad, right? Like Braun looks like the Lakers now look like the team like, "Oh no, we're good. Like we're good, Braun. Like we don't need to do the extra year with you because we've got this guy over here." So how does an agent spin that in a way to make it seem like LeBron was the one who was just like, how do you take back the power as a player? How do you take back the power and say, "You know what? I have to make this look like we're not on the same page. What I want to do, what they want to do is just say it," without actually antagonizing the other side.
Sure.
Well,
Sure.
I could see a scenario here where Rich Paul says something that kind of doesn't make any sense, but makes sense if you just accept it at face value that LeBron wants to win a championship. I mean, that's the part that always piques my mind, Raj. Like, why would a player of LeBron James' stature come out and say that I want to continue competing for championships when you have a top 3 player on your team already? The only way I could think of, again, conspiratorial, the only way I could see it would make sense that he says that is if the Lakers told him, we're not giving you another year and we want you to retire next year. So is that what happened? I don't know. Could it be something that happened? It's purely conspiracy. I don't know. But I could see that as a way of Rich Paul trying to spin it in a way to make it seem like, hey, this is Bron's decision, not the Lakers' decision. It's Bron who decides what he wants to do.
So what I'm gonna do is I try to do on your conspiracies is throw
water on it, dude.
Not water, throw the humanized element on this. I don't know a person. Again, I don't know all the people in the room. I have an idea who's in these rooms and who's conversating. Vinay, like, this is LeBron James on the other end. Going to him with a straight up, when are you retiring question, to me, just that. Now, there's ways to walk around that. There's hey, LeBron, we are trying to fill our team out going forward, and we just need a little bit of information, some guidance on where your head is.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think there is a way, and this is where I think your kind of place comes into reality, where LeBron, and I think he's honest in this, because I think in the end of June, LeBron just watched the finals. I'm sure he was hyped on that, right? There's probably, and this has been his thing his whole life. So like leaving it, cutting it off. I'm a shout out. Candace Parker had her jersey retirement, and she said, athletes have 2 deaths. They have their human death, and they have the one when they retire, right? There's an actual death that's involved in there. And so there's a real world where LeBron said, I don't know. I have no idea. Now, to me, that conversation leads to a 1+1. I always thought that's where it would go if LeBron didn't decide to retire this summer. And so I could see where that can come into play. But hey, this to me shifts the whole Lakers offseason. Like, it shifts everything, not just from a positional standpoint. You need to go find 3 salaries or whatever it is that add up to LeBron makes 50. You just opt into a $50 million deal.
And honestly, the other situation that you run into is with this opt-in. At any point in the season now, LeBron can go to the Lakers and be like, "I'd like you to trade me to whatever team he specifically asked to be traded to." Like, that is a real thing now, because Lakers obviously want to try and get something back for him, and you want to respect his wishes, send him to the team that he wants to go to. But also at the same time, the Lakers organizationally aren't just going to, like, there's a real, we could probably discuss it on another pod, honestly, Raj, because there's a real impasse that the Lakers run into. Like, LeBron could say, trade me to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Cleveland could say, yeah, we're going to give you like a bunch of junk. Lakers don't have to say yes to that. Like, they're not again, when you have Luka already there, this is not the same situation as a free agent just leaving. And you have nothing behind you. There's no burnt down house behind you in this scenario. They already have the star that they're going to go with moving forward. So now, if you want to achieve your goals, if LeBron wants to achieve his goals of going to New York or going to Cleveland, going wherever he wants to go, the Warriors, Dallas, whatever teams have been named, you want to go to whatever team you go. We have to actually work out a deal that makes sense for the Lakers. This is not one of those things where it's just, no, we'll just take back whatever we can get because we're so grateful for LeBron, because you have another guy and you're still trying to compete. So I don't think this is going to be one of those things where it's just like, this is like Rich Paul said this and Bron said this, and then now we're done with this conversation. Like, I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation until it gets resolved.
But to me, Vinay, like, just again, I'm reading this as just at face values when I'm reading this at. This is a bridge that you have to really decide if you want to cross, right? This is like this to me. This has to be. I believe it was done with this intentional thinking, but like, I'm hoping this was done with a bunch of internal conversations, which
100%.
then led them to this. Interesting part of this as well. Obviously, it's known, but just bringing up LeBron with a no trade clause is obviously is all involved in this. So not only does he get to pick the team, he also gets to examine the package that the team is offering, right? He gets a final say on that as well. And that's where it makes it, I was thinking about this, a few weeks ago. Transition of power is never smooth unless it's a retirement. Unless it's a retirement, the transition of power is just never ever smooth. And I think you're about to see some bumpy roads if this is the way it goes. Again, there's a chance. I just want to preface: there's a chance, LeBron likes the Lakers moves, and
Yeah, so I was gonna say that's a potential end result of everything that happens after free agency. Like the way it's phrased, Rich Paul could very, very easily just come out and say LeBron is really excited about all the free agent moves that the Lakers have made, and feels less anxiety or less need to have to look somewhere else when it comes to it. So that he's left like that door open a little bit for himself to come back into it, but that has to be said. Like if you're publicly going to go out and say, again, I'm going to ask you another question right after I say this because I'm very curious about what people think. I don't think people are thinking about it enough. He's left that door open for himself to be able to say that he can come back. But my question to you, Raj, is how would a player on the Lakers, a LeBron teammate, feel knowing that his agent has openly said that Bron is trying to win a championship, the Lakers are not, basically, is what he's saying. Like, and you're on the Lakers, you're like, huh? Like, well, what are we trying to do here then? And so how do you, like, that's got to be something strange, right? Or that's got to cause, maybe not friction, but like, you got to look at it sideways about what it is that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the only just the player that matters in that is Luka and Austin, obviously, to an extent as well. I think everyone after that is pretty, they're kind of on the trade block in terms of if they'll be here or not next season. But yeah, I mean, just from a franchise standpoint, I think that's a huge. Accusation is a little strong, but just in terms of there are teams out there that are trying to win, and we may have to look to get on those teams for my final years. I am not trying to go through this. He didn't say the word rebuild, but I mean, planning for the future is kind of what that entailed. So I don't know. It's an insane quote to come out with. I thought there would just be an opt-in, and then we'd get LeBron is mulling retirement, has some plans. We'll make a decision next summer on what he would like to do. But for them to come out and just pointedly say the Lakers and LeBron are at opposite roads of what they believe they want to do next season is huge. That speaks volumes, and we're gonna see what happens this summer. But Vinay, I think we're gonna get a lot of answers. My final question to you on this: you're the Lakers. Do you operate do you make free agency moves based on LeBron being here, or because it's a completely different team?
Before I answer that question, Raj, I'm going to ask you a question. And this is the question I want every single person that listens to this pod or watches this pod, is watching it live. I want you to ask yourself this question. If LeBron
Shout out to
James,
the 4,000 people in here, by the way.
Yeah. If LeBron James is serious about what he's saying, if what Rich Paul is saying is true, that LeBron believes that the Lakers are not competing for it. He didn't say they're not competing for a championship, but that his intention is to compete for a championship and that the Lakers are building for the future, right? We can read between the lines however we want. But if LeBron James genuinely believes that in his core, and if we take it one step further, if nothing will change his mind about that, right? Let's just say he's decided that's what it is, right? Why would LeBron James not ask for a trade sooner than later? Why would he go into the Lakers season as a Laker if he believes that, as opposed to asking for the trade now? Like, it doesn't have to be a public trade demand. Just go to them and say, look, clear, we're on different pages. I'd like to go to these teams. Free agency period is opening right now. I'm sure people have already been calling Rich Paul saying, yo, would Bron come and play for us? Would Bron come and play for us? Look, the East is really weak, Raj. Like, Houston looks better. Memphis shifted some stuff around. The East is really, really weak. There's not really, like, if Bron ends up on Cleveland, Bron ends up in New York, I mean, you're talking about Eastern Conference Finals trip basically for most of it. Boston's out, Indiana's hurt. Orlando is probably the strongest team. Like, we'll see what happens with the Bucks and stuff like that as free agents go through. It's a good, if he wants to make that transition back to the East, he can certainly do that. Sorry, I'm rambling, but basically what I'm saying is, my question to everybody is, if you're in LeBron James' situation and you believe that, wouldn't you ask for a trade sooner than later? Why would you play the entire season and then go and waste an entire season with the Lakers? I would imagine you'd probably ask for a trade before the season starts, right? To be on a different team.
You're talking about for next season. He should ask it now.
I'm talking about, for now. Like, as in, like, this coming season in October.
Yes.
Why would LeBron be a Laker if he believes that the Lakers aren't competing for a championship? Because he's not 26, 27, 30. He's 41. Every game counts for him now.
I think he would rather be in LA. I do not think LeBron James wants to leave Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. That's everything that I've gotten out of him. His preference would be to play here, right? I just there is nothing that I've seen for him that he wants to again go do this whole thing. He's set so many foundations here, not just from house, media company, family, kids, right? Like everything.
Yeah.
Everything is here. I keep going back to, and like, there's some of this people are saying, is this him putting pressure on the front office? Usually that pressure doesn't come directly from the agent. I mean, usually that's more behind the scene rumor sources, not a direct quote from Rich Paul, basically underlying the way that the franchise is set to move. But that's where I'm at, Vinay. I don't think he wants to leave LA. I think there were so many conversations, and maybe he wants one more chance to look at this versus the landscape and make a decision. But this is where I come right back to you. If you're the Lakers and LeBron James just told you, I'm right behind your back. I'm watching every move you make. And if it's the incorrect one, if the picks you use aren't enough, if you don't trade X player, not naming any names, but if you don't trade X for whatever, I'm requesting a trade. Is basically how I saw this. You can read this differently if you want. You can read this as him putting pressure on the franchise, however you want. I think if you're the Lakers, that's a very interesting position, especially since you just mentioned I have a homegrown. I have it not homegrown, but I have a superstar right here in the wings. And so every move we make is tailored towards that. Like, it is tailored towards optimizing him. And so I'm going to go back to you. If you're the Lakers, do you operate as if LeBron is moving on? Do you operate as if he's on the team? Do you operate as if we make X move, LeBron will be happy and decide to stay? But to your point, Vinay, if the Lakers are like, if they start off slow, if there's any type, you know what I mean? If there's a,
that's what I'm saying. He can ask out at any point. At any point, he can ask out. And
that's something I didn't think of.
Even if he doesn't ask out, Raj, even if he publicly doesn't ask out, by putting this statement out, and again, I'm not saying this to blame Rich Paul or anything. By putting this statement out, you're essentially allowing the media to go and say, anytime there's a rough patch for the Lakers, we can have a conversation about whether the Lakers should trade LeBron James now or later, or if they're wasting their time by holding him on. So that's why I'm asking the question, that if you're going to go and say this publicly, right? It would be one thing, like
if it was sourced, through a reporter.
Like if it was like what would make sense to make it safe for everybody is if LeBron opted in and Rich Paul came and said, LeBron's happy to be in LA. He just doesn't know what his future is like for him, like as a person.
Sure.
He doesn't know what his future is like, and he wants to take it one season at a time. And the Lakers are respecting that decision.
Clean.
That would have been perfect. That would have been clean. There would have been no issues. But the problem is that Rich Paul, and it's not a problem. I'm just saying it's a problem because we're a Laker fan, so we think about it from that perspective. The problem is that the Rich Paul came out and said, my client wants to win championships. The Lakers are not. The Lakers are more interested about building towards the future. That means there's a conflict of interest. That's the reason why you haven't picked you haven't taken the opt-in. So now that's the reason that we have to use against you, LeBron James. Like, here's the other example. Here's the other scenario that I have for you, Raj. Let's say the Lakers build a competitive roster with LeBron, right? He hasn't asked out yet. They build a competitive roster with LeBron,
Okay.
and they're really good. If LeBron comes back to you and says, yeah, you know what? I think I want to keep being a Laker. Do the Lakers have any obligation to keep bringing him back?
Oof,
Knowing
get
that he
that.
was ready to leave before we even got a chance to make any moves? I mean, he's making that statement at the player option. He's not doing it at the end of free agency. He's doing it at the player option before any moves have been made. So again,
Yeah.
like if people think that he's applying pressure on the front office, I think that's a fair thing. I don't think you can say that that's not. He's done that historically. He's done that historically. But that's the reason why I want to present that conspiratorial scenario.
It,
That maybe the Lakers said we just have to move on. We want to do it in an amicable manner, but that only works if you're trying to retire. If you're not trying to
it,
retire, it's going to be hard for us to do it both ways.
and that's why I am focused, Vinay. I'm gonna bring it back to the first line of that quote, because that's the first time. If you go listen to every Rich Paul, every LeBron quote, every time leaving the Lakers has been mentioned, it has been shut down emphatically. It's been, I want to be here, I want to play here. The Lakers are for titles. I'm for titles. You know that out. It has been shut down emphatically. This is the first time it has been met with, we're actually not on the same page. Our views are actually not the same. This is not the pod for this either, but I 100% do not think this is a coincidence that there is an ownership change, and now there is
and there's already a superstar already there.
That as well, but obviously that ownership was still there during that. But the ownership change combines with now LeBron coming out and saying, yeah, you know what, this ownership and me are not on the same page. Me and this management are not on the same page. Our goals don't align. And this is where the fire comes, obviously, because we have Luka Doncic, who's 26-year-old, and now you start that conversation. But I think once you open that door, you cannot walk back. You can't go backwards from that door. That door is now open. It has flown off. There's no doorknob. You cannot close it. The milk is out of the carton, whatever phrase you want to use.
Yeah.
And that's why it spoke volumes to me. And I again, I think the Lakers and LeBron have had a good relationship. I do think there's a good relationship between him and Jeannie Buss, but Jeannie Buss doesn't own the team, not the majority owner anymore.
Not the majority, yeah.
So I'm sure he's had conversation with Mark Walters and all that stuff, but that regime doesn't play around. Go speak to the people with the Dodgers. They work very quickly.
Yes.
They work analytically. They don't put too much emotion into decisions. I'm sure they have emotional ties and stuff like that, but just in terms of the transactional phase of stuff they do, and I think that's where it's led to them doing this. But that's why, Vinay, you haven't answered my question. If you're the Lakers, how are you operating this summer?
I'm operating as if LeBron James is not going to be a Laker by the end of the season.
How about for the end of the summer? Going into this season.
You have to operate like he's there because he's such a big salary. So like when you move him, you're going to have to bring something back. You have to
replace the skills. Like you have to replace the skill set too. That's the part.
Okay. Can I say this? Yeah. Again, I don't mean to be combative. We don't have to replace LeBron's skill set because Luka is replacing LeBron's skill set. It's probably not a popular opinion, right? Because people are going to think that I'm trying to say that I'm diminishing what LeBron's skill set actually is. I'm not doing that. I think one of the issues, again, you and I never like to tell fans how they're supposed to fan or how you're supposed to analyze basketball. But there was no way, in my opinion, for anybody to think that Luka was coming to replace Anthony Davis.
You've been consistent on that. Yeah.
And it was very clear that his skill set, they didn't trade for him with the intention to replace LeBron James. It's just an opportunity that came up and they said, oh, we found the next offensive playmaking.
On the next LeBron James,
Next LeBron James. So that's why we're trading for him now. I think the Lakers I think Braun tried very hard to fill that Anthony Davis role for the Lakers, and he actually did a really wonderful job to the best of his ability. We don't need to go over the Minnesota series. We just didn't have the roster for it. I still think that's very possible. I don't think Braun has to be like this defensive superstar that Anthony Davis was, I think he could be successful. But I do think there is a part of this where LeBron still wants to be what Luka is, which is I want to be the on-ball guy that decides all the stuff that happens on the floor offensively and be in command of the offense and that stuff. And I think the Lakers are like, we've got this guy who's really, really good at it too. And we really want him to be the one that's able to do it. And I don't think Bron's on board with that. But that's neither here nor there. I think if Laker fans take that mentality that Luka was brought here to replace LeBron as opposed to replacing Anthony Davis, I think it would change your perspective as to how much the Lakers need. Do they need to replace this stuff that Bron does, the scoring, the playmaking to some degree? For sure. But do they have to get an equal level guy to do that? Probably not, because you have a guy like Luka there.
Yeah. I don't think you have to get an equal guy, but I do think there's with LeBron, you have a forward, right, who is going to eat vinay 30 to 35 minutes a game. Now you have to go find that elsewhere. The trade for LeBron, like if you just to give an example, if you go trade for an Andrew Wiggins, right, and that probably changes what you want back in return in a LeBron deal, right? Or whatever it is. If you go trade for a center, but now LeBron leaves, and so like I just mean like there's a gap of understanding, and that's the point to me. I just saw a good comment here. I think it was from Jay. So Jay, shout out Jason Noel in the YouTube chat. Shout out everyone in the YouTube chat. Well, we're gonna start a bunch of comments and get to it at the end. But the trouble is you can't really work on a Bron chat until the soft launch turns into a full on request. The issue to me within that is that probably doesn't come until free agency ends. And so that's a really tough predicament to be, and in any walks of life, but just even in the NBA business, nobody wants to be working with basically a gun behind their head. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to work in that manner. There's just no one who's comfortable doing that. No one works best doing that. Obviously there's level of urgency and accountability that's needed, but that's the part that's interesting to me, Vinay. And like replaces a strong, like I think Luka was supposed to take over for LeBron once he was.
Yeah, I'm using the wrong word
because Vinay's using replace, which is fine. But I do think there's skill sets that need to be picked up. There's replacements that need to be had. LeBron is one of your best playmakers. He's one of your best scorers. He's a go-to scorer, right? He carries second units like there, and he plays some small ball five. Like there's just a bunch of stuff to me where without the knowledge of LeBron's future on the team, I don't know how you build your team out, right? And I think that's a good segue for what we're going to speak about next. But that's where I'm at. But this is a hell of a thing to throw at a team, and you would have liked this to be thrown 3 weeks ago, probably, right? And so then you could set up your free agency things of that nature to a better extent. But throwing this now, it's a hell of a curveball. Going into free agency and into trades, and obviously the draft is finished with a player that we both like, but this LeBron storyline is not something I expected, and I'm sure we'll continue on throughout the summer.
Yeah, so we'll put a little box on what happens with LeBron's trade stuff, and we'll see how this kind of evolves, that the situation evolves. So let's go to the next piece of news that came out, Raj, which was Dorian Finney-Smith opting out of his $15 million player option, which was a big deal because it is a big deal and not a big deal because it's a big deal because we traded for him. Again, we don't want guys to leave for nothing. But the trade-off this time around is that if he does leave, the Lakers does open up the entire non-taxpayer MLE, which is about $15 million. So we lose him and his $15 million salary slot, but then we get this $15 million salary slot that we can use in free agency, which is something we didn't have with him on there. We only had the taxpayer MLE. A lot of the conversation about LeBron taking a pay cut was to unlock the non-taxpayer MLE, which was never realistic. I don't think you and I either of us thought that LeBron should ever do that. But we've run into this situation. Dorian Finney-Smith has suitors. Houston, Mark Stein has mentioned that Houston is interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. From what you and I, or at least what I've heard in the background, is that Dorian wants a longer-term deal, 2-3 year deal. There is a little bit of an issue that he's 33 years old. He's not that he's not a good player. He's a great player. Luka likes him. He likes Luka. But he is an older guy. And I think you and I are both kind of hopeful that maybe, and we'll get to the third segment that we're going to discuss because I think that throws a wrench in all of this. I think you and I would both like Dorian to come back on a reasonable deal. I think we've both said that, hey, the non-taxpayer MLE, which is like 13 to 14 million, is probably like the right amount of money. Like if he opts out and you get him for like a 226 or a 3, whatever the math is, 339 or 340 or something like that. I think Bobby Portis just got a 344 or something like that from Milwaukee. That's probably a little bit closer to like what Dorian's actual net, I think his actual worth on the open market is. Where are you with that? What do you think about the idea? We did draft the kid, Adu. We didn't discuss him because we didn't do it. We didn't do a, what's it called? But Intel says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Intel. I've heard, birdies have told me that the Lakers really do like Adu. They do think he can kind of fill that defensive on-ball role, tough physical role that Dorian has. But obviously he can't shoot. Dorian can hit threes. Streaky, but still hits threes. And is a great communicator. So what do you think about this situation with Dorian that we're in right now?
So I think, Vinay, the playoffs are not only revealing, but they also give teams licenses to do different things. And so I think Dorian was probably locked in to a 360 or something like that. Oh, sorry, 345 or whatever it is. But then the first round happened, and they lost in 5, and they got athletically demolished in a bunch of different positions. I'm not blaming Dorian for this. He's also on the wrong side of 30. He's 32 years old. Both of us are huge Dorian fans. I think Dorian's awesome. Yeah. I think next year he's going to kill for, it's reportedly Houston. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great move for Houston.
Yeah, he's a Houston guy too. I think he's from Houston.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken. Yes. Yeah. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. I also do understand the Lakers looking at this. And again, I think these are ownership, management, directionized stuff that is now coming down and saying, this is the compass that you have. This is where you need to follow. Anyone over 30, we are very much going to examine long-term deals that we're looking at them. I think they had a hard stance on Dorian. I believe they would have given him a 1+1 or something like that. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they wanted to, or the reporting is they want to clear their cap sheet, but he was definitely not getting a long-term deal here. And I kind of understand it. I think he leaves and you open up the mid-level exception. It matters who you get, within that capacity. But that's where I'm at with it. Vinay, I think Dorian is awesome, and people are noting the Luka connection. Look, Dallas also traded Dorian Finney-Smith. Obviously, it was for Kyrie Irving, and that's obviously the team that Luka had the most success from. But it would be much more. I have to see who they get, I guess, in this position, right before I completely, destroy the idea. And then look, again, this was out of the Lakers' hands in somewhat capacity.
Yeah,
I understand people are like, you got to just pay him because you gave up the picks. 3 second-rounders is something you got to consider. Obviously, also D'Angelo Russell, but yeah, it's not as shocking to me. I guess I've heard for a while, there was there's a little bit of a cascade between Dorian's money that he wanted and the Lakers' willingness, and I think this is that's showing up. But where are you with the Dorian looking like he's ready to walk?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, if they were losing him and we were like way over the cap and we weren't getting the non-taxpayer MLE, I'd be upset. Like I'd be like, bro, this is literally Dennis Schroeder or whatever version you want to come up with, like all over again. But the fact that we have the non-taxpayer MLE, there is like a benefit to him not being there because now you have money to work with. Obviously, the main difference is we get hard capped at the first apron, but that shouldn't be too much of a big deal because you still have all those salaries that you can trade around and stuff like that. The only thing I would have kind of wished is if we had found a way to sign and trade him or like extend and trade him to the team that he wanted to go to, because then we could have probably gotten something back. But that is water under the bridge now. So I don't feel too bad. The fact knowing that we have the non-taxpayer MLE, but it does mean that how we use that non-taxpayer MLE, which is going to be important for the next person we're going to talk about, how we use that non-taxpayer MLE is a big deal. Like we have to use it correctly. And if we don't use it correctly, or we don't use it for guys to replace what Dorian brought to us or help bolster areas of the roster. Again, bolster areas of the roster that we need. I had Raj, as an aside, I had multiple people message me. I don't know if it happened to you, but I had multiple people message me when Rob was, I think, when he was interviewing with Adu, and he said he helps us win on the margins. Like, it's important for us to win on the margins. And I
Yeah.
had like 3 people message me. It's just like, bro, Rob has to be watching you and Raj. I was like, why? He's like, he just said that we have to make sure that we win on the margins, and you guys say that shit all the time. And I was just like, dude, it took us like 8 years to get to this point where this guy's actually openly saying this out loud. But
Yeah.
again, if you're going to use a non-text param, if the Lakers' justification is we're okay with letting Dorian Finney-Smith walk because we're going to get the non-tax per MLE, then you have to hit on those signings. You have to hit on those margins, because if you don't, then again, we're right back to square one, which is, why is Rob in his role? He might not be good at his job as it relates to the basketball evaluation part.
Yeah, and I think again that he's gonna have a lot more accountability and someone looking over him and someone really evaluating his choices within that. And so yeah, I'm with you. I think the MLE, whoever they get with that, is important. But Vinay, let's go to the man of the hour. Basically, is what it is.
Okay, before we do him, I want to add one smaller transaction that
Okay.
happened, because it is important. Dayron Sharp.
Yes.
Yesterday, you, me, Rome, and the
Zay.
guys in the small chat. Yeah, the guys in the small chat. We were discussing Dayron Sharp, and we had all said, "Hey, the Nets are giving out qualifying offers to everybody, but I haven't seen them give out a qualifying offer to Dayron Sharp." And we were like, "That's strange, because you should give him a
Yeah.
qualifying offer. He's a good player." And I was just like, I wonder if they don't want to do it, or if Daron's like, "Hey, I'd like this amount of money," instead of just taking the qualifying offer, and then we can do it. And maybe they ran into an impasse. And today we find out that the Nets declined to give Dayron Sharp a qualifying offer. Now they can still sign
Yes.
him to a regular deal, which is entirely possible. But Raj, I'm thinking about the idea of us discussing Dayron Sharp during the season at the trade deadline, and us proposing that maybe the Lakers, when they trade for DFS, they should ask for Dayron Sharp back, because that guy would be a really, really good center in your center rotation. And now he might potentially be available if he doesn't stay with the Nets in unrestricted free agency. What do you think about the idea of adding him? Maybe not as a starter, but like as a in your rotation big.
I mean, obviously before Ayton came out, he was I thought, the best free agent center that you should go get. Before that name was Clint Capella, and now Dayron just magically came on the market. I would love to go get him. It feels like he'll be back with the Nets. I don't know. It's just that's kind of what the picture I've gotten. But if he was, they could have just rendered the qualifying offer, I guess. So yeah, I would love to go after him. It makes, I don't know what the amount would be where you'd be able to steal him for. I mean, I'm sure he's looking for something a little bit more than that. And there's obviously some separation between him and the franchise. I guess his cap hold, or not to get too salary specific, but I guess his cap hold was a little bit larger than
It was higher. Yeah, it was like
it was
12 million or
higher.
something like that.
Yeah. And so that's why they can kind of let him be a free agent and then re-sign him to a different number. That keeps less of a cap. But I would love Dayron. But yeah, it makes it interesting with DeAndre Ayton now available. It just that makes it very fascinating. But I think he's the best. He would be the best backup big that you could get, and he's the best free agent, quote unquote. That'd be available. But
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if the Nets just let him go. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now they're in a position where they might lose him for nothing.
That's true.
If the situation, it might not just be a money thing. It might be like do I get to play?
Opportunity
Like,
role.
opportunity thing. And they drafted Danny Wolf, I think. And they still have Nick Claxton on that team too as well. So I mean, I don't know where Dayron fits in with all that sort of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And so that brings us to DeAndre Ayton, Raj. The biggest news of the night is that DeAndre Ayton, who's an expiring salary, is taking a buyout. So he's taking a buyout. And I think a lot of people are hearing the word buyout thinking that like he's giving, like, of the 35 million, he's going to give back like $30 million. I don't think that's the case.
No.
I think he's going to take like a $5 million buy. Like he's taking just a little bit less than what his total amount is. So it's probably like, instead of, if he's getting paid 35 million, he'll leave for 30 million, you know? So, and for the Blazers, they drafted like 3 centers. They have 3 centers on their roster already. At least 2 that young guys in Donovan Clingan and Hanson Yang, that they like. Rob Williams, I don't think he's healthy enough to play anymore. But now DeAndre Ayton is going to be on the open market. And we can we can draw the lines. DeAndre Ayton does have the same agent as Luka does.
Yes.
Bill Duffy reps them both, and so there are those lines of communication that would be available. The Lakers are a team that desperately needs a starting center. Luka is one of those types of playmakers that routinely gets his big man involved in every single possession. So that'll be really interesting. There's a lot of opportunity. Obviously, LA, big market. People want to be in LA. That's a thing too as well. I do want to say this though, Raj. I asked you 2 pods ago what you thought about DeAndre Ayton compared to Rob Williams. You took a week and you changed your opinion from Rob Williams to DeAndre Ayton.
Yes. Before this information was he ever close to coming out, I went and did the actual work, and I was like, DeAndre Ayton's numbers are very interesting. I think it's very easy to look at him and go, he hates basketball, the motor, and those are all legit concerns. But yes, go on.
Yes. My question to you is, now that we know that we're a little bit closer to DeAndre Ayton potentially being the reality of being a starting center for the Lakers, my question to you is this. I don't think he comes for cheap. I think it costs a lot of money to get DeAndre Ayton. Sure. It's potentially the entire non-taxpayer Emily to get DeAndre Ayton. So,
yeah,
would you be okay with letting Dorian Finney-Smith walk if that meant that full $15 million that you had available, you could use on DeAndre Ayton and have him as your starting center for the Lakers?
I think so. I wrote about this, but this is an efficient center. He's one of the best rebounding bigs in the league, one of the best offensive rebounding bigs in the league. He's not perfect, comes with flaws, but I think just for 1 year, you're not getting a better center than that. And so full MLE, yeah, that makes me, kind of nervous. Obviously, it doesn't, taste good, but I think that's something the Lakers have to really look at. The question to me, Vinay, is would you rather have Nickeil Alexander-Walker for the full MLE, or would you rather have DeAndre Ayton? And that's interesting.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say I'd rather have Ayton, but yeah, go ahead.
Ayton, yeah, I think I lean that way too, and I like Nickeil a lot. But I think if you get Ayton, because again, I think it's not just the MLE that you're looking at, Vinay. You're getting him for free. There's nothing else you're giving up. No first round pick. Shout out my guy Dalton Connect, who I was able to connect with.
Oh yeah, dude! Shout out chat. Shout out Raj for getting that interview with Dalton Connect at that promo event. That was a great article for Clutch Punch. Chat, if you haven't read it, please take some time and go read it.
For SB Nation, yeah, that was we got to talk to him for a good amount, and Dalton wants to be in LA. I'll just say that. Let's just say Dalton is a 24-year-old guy who's 100% enjoying Los Angeles. But yeah, I think getting Ayton for free, I think that trumps getting Nickeil for whatever it is. And Nikhil's a good player. I think he's a really good wing, defensive wing would impact on that end. A little bit less of a finisher out the basket, but I think Ayton for the MLE. How many times have we had the conversation, Vinay? If Ayton made $20 million, if he made this, if he made that, he would be so valuable. And I think he would far outkick a $15 million salary. So that's where I'm at. Where are you?
No, I think that's a home run play. I honestly think the Lakers should prioritize that. If I was the Lakers, I would be prioritizing. I would say thank you, Dorian Finney-Smith, for the half season that we got from you. And I would fully go after DeAndre Ayton for all the same reasons that you said. I think you're basically getting him for free. You're using a cap mechanism to get him. I think that's a big deal. You are not going to find somebody better than Ayton right now. That doesn't cost you more assets than just the salaries that you have available. And so I think that's a really, really great opportunity for the Lakers. I would hope that they pursue that aggressively and make that like their highest priority. If you can do that as like your first move, Raj, to free agency, everything becomes so much easier, dude. Like now you're just looking for a backup center. Now maybe you need to move some guys around to add some more defensive pieces or athletic pieces and stuff like that. Like I just it's not even like to be against, because remember the issue with Dorian is you have Dorian and you have Vando and you have Rui. You have too many guys playing at the same size, and then obviously Braun is still there. Like you have too many guys that are in the same position, so that's one of the issues that you run into. So, I think that's a. Are you reading? You read the chat?
No, kind of. But I was just thinking, not to bring this back, but just okay. The Lakers trade for DeAndre Ayton, or not trade? Excuse me. They signed DeAndre Ayton for free. And then a quote comes out from LeBron's camp that, you know what, never mind, like we're good. Like DeAndre Ayton shifted the world.
Just wait for it, dude. Just wait for. I want to see him do it, bro. I want to see him do it. I want to see a.
I'm not even like. I'm not even mad at. I'm not even I just find that so fascinating because again, I honestly didn't think DeAndre Ayton was up for grabs this summer at all. But he's still. I think me and Vinay would both want DeAndre Ayton. He doesn't put you in the favorite territory, and there's really not a move out there that puts you in the favorite territory, most likely, right? Oklahoma City is going to be the favorite no matter what. They keep signing dudes on these cheap contracts, which I don't really understand, but in any case, I just thought that was funny. But no, Ayton is. I don't think people realize how efficient he was last year, how much of a good rebounder he was. There's some defensive concerns, but engaged DeAndre Ayton, and cynicism is not what we like to be here, but we're gonna go in full cynical mode. This is a contract year for him, and he wants to earn the next payday. He's 26, 27 years old, whatever it is. And so
look,
I think Ayton makes a lot of sense.
I'm gonna put it this way. Obviously, we both want to go after Ayton, so I don't think there's any confusion about that. You won't get a guy that's at good, productive at his position around the league for something that affordable. So, I think we're in agreement about that. I just want to say this about Ayton. We've discussed Ayton like in a little bit more in depth. I'm going to put it very simply in the way that I think of it. I think Ayton is a moody big. I say this because this is a notorious thing that exists in many, many big men in the NBA. Dwight was notorious for this. Shaq was notorious. I'm not saying DeAndre's on that level, but like these guys are notorious. A big man who has spent his entire career being adored for being dominant physically and taller and faster and everything, his entire career, coming to the NBA and then being at the mercy of whoever the ball handler is, because the ball handler decides that he wants to shoot the ball instead of passing it to him when he's open, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Those kind of big men tend to be moody. And a lot of times that affects their motor. And I think DeAndre Ayton's motor was affected by the fact that sometimes he just didn't get the ball when he was open. Sometimes he didn't get the ball when he delivered a great screen and sealed his guy and created passing angles or entry pass angles and stuff like that. And I don't think this is not bail for DeAndre Ayton. I'm just trying to say, if you've played basketball at any level with a big man and ever played pick and roll with a big man before and missed your big man multiple times when they've like been like, yo, I'm open, you will understand why big men get pissed and check out of the game mentally. I'm just saying that in this example, DeAndre Ayton next to a guy like Luka, next to a guy like LeBron, next to a guy like Austin, I feel like he's probably going to average 20 and 10 like pretty easily. And there might be nights where he's the leading scorer for the Lakers if he's on the Lakers. And he's putting up 30 just because teams don't know how to deal with what he's doing. I think you and I both like his offensive tape. His technical skill is really great. He likes to take that mid-range, which sometimes isn't his bag, but he's got great touch around the rim. And he can definitely be in a Lakers scheme. We're not playing drop coverage. He can definitely be a guy who's affecting shots and blocking shots and helping his teammates out.
Yeah, he's 7 foot, like he's pretty good weight as well. Has a nice vertical leap, for a center. He has all the like tools that you want. And but at 26-year-old, where are you going to find a center that's not only been good, but has finals experience, has playoff experience. He's been in big games, right? He's been a part of really good teams. I think he was on the Suns team that won 60 games. I believe he was the starting center on that team. Like this is not where you have
away from a championship.
Right.
When the Suns made that run. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. You don't have to wonder, has this guy played meaningful minutes? Right. I think that was one of the concerns with Mark Williams. This guy has not played a real basketball game yet. Deandre Ayton has played in high leverage basketball games, has been good. The Lakers should not be strangers to this. He was awesome in our 2021 series. And again, he's not the perfect player. I think me and Vinay are trying to express that there's obviously concerns. The motor
Of
stuff
course.
is 100% real.
Motor is
But you're
definitely
right.
an issue. Yeah.
But you're right. This is a pick and roll big that wants to be an offensive star and
Mhm.
wants to have touches, wants the ball in the post. And I'm not sure there's a better playmaker in the league aside from maybe, Trae Young, another guy that really feeds your big man. But I think he wants to go somewhere with a lot of publicity, somewhere with a lot of fame, somewhere where he can make his name. And if you don't think that's part of it, that's 100% part of it. He's trying to earn his next deal. And so this just connects and it makes a lot of sense. And there's a win-win for both sides. It feels like Ayton gets to kind of rebrand himself, right?
Absolutely.
He gets to, reclaim his career, kind of the narrative on his career. We've seen other players do this. Malik Monk came here, minimum, left on a $12 million salary, right? A lot of Lakers come here and go get paydays elsewhere. That's kind of what LA is a stomping ground for. And the Lakers get to do it for 1 year, no risk. They don't want to sign him next year. They don't have to, but it just makes a whole lot of sense. And I think that's why most Laker fans went crazy when he agreed to a buyout, which, the expiring contract, Portland kind of probably got something for him. I'm not sure what, but it looks like they didn't want to go through that with him and they were just kind of done with it. So we'll see, but that's exciting. That name was not on my board, and that's good news.
Are we lucky that we did our analysis before this news came out, Raj? Just so happened to work out that way for us. Anyways, so that's pretty much most of the news, Raj, that we've had related to the Lakers. Obviously, the LeBron thing is gonna. You and I both said it's an ongoing conversation. We'll see what happens with Dorian Finney-Smith, based on what the conclusion comes to from there. But at least we know what's going to happen with the Lakers cap situation. Should Dorian decide to go elsewhere? Obviously, we want to try and sign and trade him if we can, so we can get something back. But if not, it is what it is. And then Deandre Ayton, we'll see what happens. I think he shot up everybody's board of like, hey, this is a guy that we should go get. You can basically get him for cheap. Actually, Jace asked a great question in the chat, and we'll get to a couple of the questions that we have starred. Jace asked a question. What about Coloco's qualifying offer? Raj, I know you were very high on him.
Yes.
How do you feel about Coloco getting that?
By the way, shout out both my South Bay legends. Jordan Goodwin got his option picked up.
Yes.
Not fully guaranteed, but he's definitely got a nice kind of buffer, I think, until December or January, whatever it was. So earned a second contract. That's kind of one of the success stories of LA. Not a perfect player either. Again, I'm trying to get it misconstrued, but I think a contributor in the regular season, you get that at the G League level. You've won. Christian Coloco getting the qualifying offer, I think that's great news. Keep him in our farm system, keep him on the roster, develop him a little bit more, get him some minutes. And I think you can see a nice jump from him. Played some meaningful minutes last season, was a mixed bag, but I would have loved to see him just get a little bit more opportunity. So excited for both those guys, honestly. Bronny's going to play Summer League. I broke the news that Dalton Connect is playing in Summer League. If he decides to forego that, I am posting the audio of him telling me that.
You lied.
No, if the Lakers decide or something, just they decide to switch up and say, you know what, Dalton, you don't.
Oh, it's yeah, you need to keep the evidence, bro. It's been a rough time for people reporting on the Lakers, bro. Everybody's getting their card pulled by Lakers Twitter timeline, so just have it ready. But no, that's cool, dude. You got to break that news. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, getting aggregated was interesting. As well,
you made it, dude.
But no. But yeah, so Summer League should be fun. But I'm happy for both those guys. We'll have both of them. Obviously, Bronny is still on a roster spot next season.
Absolutely.
And so another young guy in our kind of facility in our farm system. But
We
yeah,
want to
man.
see the year 2 leap for Bronny. We were looking for that
Yes.
with Max Christie. We looked for that with Austin Reeves. We want to see year 2 leaps for Dalton and Bronny and see what they look like.
Yes.
Raj, we have a question from I'm going to not even I don't even know how to say this. Ban Brindle Beard 3, $2 super
Okay.
chat. Appreciate you for share for the super chat. Ben, his or her question is favorite backup option if we sign DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, well, I mean, this changes now, right? Because I always thought Capella would get the
Yeah.
non-taxpayer and essentially be our backup center. But it doesn't look like that will be the case. At least that's what I'm assuming with Aiden now available. But let's
So the Lakers
yeah.
will have the biannual exception, I think, which is about $4
Mm,
million. So they can still use that
yes.
if they needed
Okay.
to give something more than just the vet minimum. So he could
Yeah.
still an option, just won't be for
That
the full
that
five and a half or
that
whatever.
probably doesn't get you Dayron though. I'm guessing, right? I'm guessing 4 million, unless you can sell him on roll and you can sell
Okay.
him on
So
minutes.
so can I pitch you something, Raj? I want to pitch you something.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Go ahead.
everybody's just like, well, why would DeAndre Ayton go to the Lakers? Like he could go to any team. He can go to the Warriors. He can go to blah blah blah. So the Lakers are in a very unique situation, right? They don't know if LeBron's going to be on the team next season. Um, Obviously, we don't know what that's going to be like. But the one thing that we do know is that if LeBron is not on the Lakers next season, um, they're going to have a lot of cap space, like a lot. So if you're a player who wants minutes, not to prove it, but you want minutes so that you can just basically show, yo, I'm worth a bigger contract and I want to be in LA instead of being wherever I'm at, Portland, Brooklyn, whatever it is. The Lakers have an opportunity of going and telling those players, Dayron Sharp and DeAndre Ayton, they can say, hey, look, DeAndre, you take the non-taxpayer MLE and we'll give you a plus 1 year. Okay. And it'll make it a player option. And Daron will give you the 4 million and we'll give you the player option too as well. Right. So you basically guaranteed $8 million, right? Because I think it's about 4 million for the
Mm,
biennial exception. If things go well on both ends, you can opt out and we'll have the cap space to give you more money to
mm,
increase the amount of money that you guys both get. I think that's going to be a big factor for both of those guys. And I think that's an advantage that the Lakers have with this situation that everybody's in right now. And so, again, the other thing is also like, look, what if Braun decides to change it? People might be listening and say, well, what if Braun decides to change his mind? And he does a whole 180 and he says, like, yeah, you know what? You guys signed DeAndre Ayton and now I want to stay a Laker until I'm retiring. Well, Rui's coming off the books. Gabe is coming off the books. Rando's still here. Maxi's coming off the books. So the Lakers will have room below the first apron and second apron to give more money to DeAndre Ayton and Dayron Sharp. So if I'm Rob Pelinka, that's probably the way I pitch it to them. I say, look, I can't get you all the money you want right now, but I can get you the opportunity. And I can give you at least guaranteed financial security in the form of this year and a player option for next year that is bigger than whatever you're getting right now, especially like in Dayron's situation, because his qualifying offer was about $6 million or something like that. If he's willing to take it, that'd be great for the Lakers. What do you think about that?
yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. If you can sell him on the roll, you can sell him on next season. And I think that's something that they can definitely go to him for. Obviously, if you don't know now, you probably, we're living under a rock, but obviously him and Austin share the same agent. So I'm sure
Same
that
agent.
100% helps. I was thinking
We
about
like
this,
to
Vinay.
shout out Bill Duffy and shout out
Yes.
Aaron Riley. Shout out
Yes.
both those guys.
Yes, both of them. Agents do a lot of work around the league,
A
and I
lot
think
of
we're
work.
learning very quickly in terms of how much influence agents have across the league. I don't remember that growing up as much as it was, but nowadays, anytime a player is rumored, their agency is quickly brought up, and what players they share with that agency, and I think rightfully so. I think these agencies are very much closer than even sometimes the player is with their team, which is interesting as well.
Yeah,
The
I
Lakers are
think
no
Raj,
strangers.
what happened is we young Raj and young Vinay, all we cared about was basketball and just what was on the court. And as we got older and became more invested in this, we
Yeah,
saw the sick basketball
right.
business world
World, a
behind
world
the
of what it
scenes.
is. Yeah,
And
the business.
now we know what it's like. But again, you have to keep great relationships, and agents
100%.
have to have great relationships so that they can get their clients where they want to go. So it's good for the Lakers if they can figure that situation out. So Sharp probably, if not Sharp, then probably Capella. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
Sharp and then Capella. That's kind of, I think from after that you get into dangerous territory of,
Yeah.
of the types of players, but those two make the most sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see. Brook Lopez is another name that's been floated out there as well. He'd be behind those two for me, but yeah, Sharp and Capella. That just, and both of those guys, I'm sure again, it's very similar to Ayton, right? Is where they're trying to reclaim their value around the league.
Mm-hmm.
Capella lost obviously his rotation to Okongwu, and then Sharp obviously never really got the chance with Brooklyn, so both of them could come here. Spotlight, good team, high floor with Luka, the ceiling TBD, and I think both those guys make a lot of sense. But DeAndre Ayton, man, God, what a way to close out today before free agency starts tomorrow. Renee. We get
Yeah.
all this stuff front loaded or back loaded tomorrow at the on Monday night.
Yeah, and I'm reading one of the quotes that because Shams went on TV to discuss the DeAndre Ayton
Okay.
thing. He said that Ayton and his representatives approached the Blazers about a buyout, and Ayton wanting to play in a winning situation. So, like for the folks that are mocking him to teams that are not good teams, it sounds like it's not just a money thing. It's like hey, like I want to win. Take that for whatever it's worth for how people feel about Aiden. One last question, Raj, and then
Yes.
we'll sign off for the folks. Nashia asks in the YouTube chat, is it not still possible to sign and trade him? So Nashia, I'm assuming that you're talking about
DFS.
DFS. The Lakers can. Oh no, yeah, the Lakers can. The even though he's opted out, they still can. He can still go back and say, sign and trade me to the team that I want to go to. The Lakers would be hard capped at the first apron, which is okay because they would basically.
I thought it would be at the second apron. No, would it?
No, it would be first apron. So when you sign and trade somebody, oh, actually, no, sorry, I'm wrong. When you sign and trade somebody and receive a sign and trade player, you get hard capped at the first apron.
Yes.
But yeah, so the Lakers could certainly do that and then try to bring back some guys, but depending on which team he gets sent to and what the rules are for that team, they might have to send back equal salary. I don't know if the Lakers can take so it might not be one of those things where the Lakers can take back nothing or take back very less. And if they take back less, you still want to have that non-taxpayer MLE available for a guy like him. So there's a lot of different decisions that they have to make in that, but they can sign and trade him if they need to.
And with this much smoke, there's fire, and it just feels like he's going to Houston, and Houston has no reason to give the Lakers anything. They can sign Dorian to that MLE outright. The question I have for you, just in a cap sense, can the Lakers can pay Dorian more though, right? Like they can give him more than Houston because they have his bird rights. So essentially,
bird rights,
so they can. So I guess the incentive for Houston to give the Lakers something for Dorian would be the Lakers can give him the pay raise, I guess,
and then
that's higher than the MLE, and then trade him to Houston. So that's the incentive.
And it's also one of those things where if they want to get rid of certain guys on their team that maybe the Lakers would want or a third team would want, like let's Jock Landale. Like let's say they don't want Jock Landale on their
the name.
Like you could or Cam Whitmore, like if they want to combine a package and send those two guys to another team all together to get back assets while also getting Dorian, they could do that too as well. That's the incentive behind that, as opposed to just signing him outright.
I see. But the Lakers can't take any salary back because it would mess up. It would fluctuate the MLE. Is that correct?
I would think.
I was reading I was reading that the Lakers would still have the MLE even if.
The non-taxpayer MLE, it gets activated when you're under the tax line, which is under the first apron, which is what the Lakers currently are right now because Dorian Finney-Smith has opted out.
Is walking, yes.
Yeah. So that's basically what triggers it. So as long as whatever at the end of the transaction, as long as the Lakers are below the tax line, they get access to the non-taxpayer MLE, and if you use it, you can't cross the first apron. So as long as after they use that non-taxpayer MLE, they stay below the first apron because they'll be hard capped at the first apron, they're okay. So the people I know are already working out the math. So it's very, very possible for them to just let Dorian walk, sign Ayton. But yeah, maybe there's a scenario where they trade Dorian away and they bring back like a minimal salary, like maybe like a $4 million player that can help out in the rotation. Who knows? And we can go from there. But yeah, Raj, any last thoughts before we let the folks go?
Not really. Not really. What a crazy day, a crazy week. We didn't even touch on the Lakers, use 2 cash considerations to move up and draft
Yeah, we
someone
didn't
at
get
the
a chance to talk about
36th
Duke. Yeah.
pick. Didn't get into any of that. But no, this is exciting. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.
After whatever happens in 2 days, LeBron set off a uh, little grenade that
Yeah.
just is gonna pulverate through the franchise
Yeah.
while they try to build this plane in the air. But it's exciting. Kevin Durant got traded. I'm not sure we even got into. I don't remember if we got into that.
Yeah, we
But
did. We
media.
discussed it in the last pod.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm blanking. But
Like,
yeah.
it's a lot of news, Raj, and get ready for tomorrow's A, B, and C blocks of First Take and whatever show that sports take you guys like watching to be LeBron, that Lakers. So we're sorry, folks, that it's going to be a Lakers dominated conversation tomorrow, but it's going to be a Lakers dominated conversation tomorrow, and I think it's going to be like that all week. But free agency is here, Raj. We're 1 day away from free agency, and I think there's going to be stuff that's happening. It's going to be exciting to see what happens. But as always, folks, we hope you're having a wonderful weekend, end to your weekend. We appreciate everybody that was able to join us this Sunday night. I will get this up on Spotify and Apple so you guys can play it back, or you can always just go to YouTube and play it back and enjoy it that way too as well. But as always, we appreciate you. Like, share, subscribe, whatever you can do. We appreciate all the support we get. Please support Raj and his work at Clutch Points. He does great interviews, gets great answers to questions, and asks really great basketball questions that I think everybody would enjoy the answers to. So as always, we appreciate you, and we hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful evening whenever you're listening to this. And if nothing else, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.